Today we will go on a trip to a new world, the world of insects. Our date is with an insect that is very useful to plants and humans. What is it? It's the bee. Bees are classified according to their 20,000 different types of insects, and these types differ in their nature according to their different shapes, colors, and sizes. It is reported that the size of adult bees ranges between approximately 2 mm to 4 cm, and that they are closely related to the wasp. A difference is also noted in the lifestyles of each type and the places they make their homes, in addition to their seasons of activity, and the type of flowers they visit. Some types of bees carry out the process of pollinating flowers depending on when they open and produce nectar. There are types that practice their pollination activity throughout the day, other types at dawn, and third types that work at night in the moonlight. Despite the many types of bees and their seasons of activity, they provide the world with an invaluable environmental service, which lies in the fact that they are responsible for pollinating 80% of flowering plants in addition to pollinating 75% of fruit trees, vegetables, and nuts. All members of one bee colony work together in a team spirit. Despite the diversity of tasks and names, as there are queen bees, workers, and males, which differ in their composition and tasks, they all begin as a single, longitudinal-shaped egg placed inside one of the colony's holes for 3 days. Then it hatches and enters the larval stage, requesting careful care day and night. It is fed with royal jelly made by the workers in the colony for several days. Then it is fed with what is called bee bread, which is a mixture of honey and pollen, after which the doors of the holes in the larva are closed for a period of 1 to 2 weeks so that it can transform into a cocoon, after which it enters the insect stage. Complete, which has a complete body, head, and wings. Types of bees. 1. Bumblebees. Bumblebees are distinguished by their relatively large size and furry cover compared to other types of bees. They are also known for their mostly black and yellow colors, and some of them may have 2 additional colors, white and orange. It is worth noting that there are approximately 25 species of them in the eastern United States. 2. Carpenter bees. Carpenter bees make their home in wood, and they resemble bumblebees, but they are considered solitary bees. It is worth noting that they can be distinguished by their large size and the shiny black abdomen. This type of bee is spread throughout the eastern United States of America, while it is reported that it enters the period it hibernates throughout the winter followed by a mating season in the spring. Three. Sweat bees. Sweat bees are called by this name because some of their species are attracted to human sweat. They mostly make homes on the ground, but some of them may live in wood. Some types of these bees are social by nature, but they leave the affairs of their kingdom to one queen, while others it is solitary and lives outside the bee colony. It is indicated that there are parasitic species that depend on other bee species for their resources. The sweat bee is characterized by its dark color, or completely green, or with only a green part. For mason bees. called mason bees, are a type that live in hollow tree branches, or in places with cavities. They also use clay as compartments between the place where each egg is placed and the next. These bees are distinguished by their bright green or blue color, or black color, and their females are known as solitary, living separately from the colony. 5. Biting bees. Biting bees are called by this name because they cut circles of leaves and then use them in their homes, which they often place in wood or hollow stems, in the ground, or in any cracks such as cracks in concrete, for example. This type of bee is characterized by carrying grains. The pollen is on the lower part of its abdomen, unlike most other bee species, which carry it on their legs. Most of its species are classified as solitary. Six. European honey bees. They are called European honey bees according to their name. This type, which has a golden or yellow-brown color and is approximately 1.25 centimeters in size, was not known in America until European colonists brought it in the 16th century. This type of bee is known to be a social type. Lives integrated within the colony. Most bees are solitary, with the exception of honey bees and a few other species that live in the form of large colonies. When this type of bee is exposed to danger, it shows its aggression to defend itself, through a barbed stinger emerging from its abdomen, which it inserts into the body of the aggressor, and during this process its skin is torn. It loses parts of its entrails and internal organs and dies after a few minutes. However, there are species that do not have barbed stingers, which helps them sting more than once. In North America, only honey bees make honey, while other bees, such as bumblebees, store nectar, and the nature of the substance or stored nectar differs between them. The honeycomb of all types of honey bees consists of white, hexagonal wax cells. It is a substance secreted from the abdominal glands of worker bees. It is chewed and placed inside molds in the form of small flakes. It is also surrounded by propolis, bee glue, or propolis, which is a waxy balsamic substance collected by bees. Honey is from buds and tree sap or other sources, and the honey is stored in this comb. On the other hand, honeybees move from one site to another through reproduction, so that a portion of the colony's bees leave with the old queen, and it is worth noting that honeybees usually flee when they feel a threat to their colony or run out of supplies and food. Structure of the bee. The body of the bee is composed of the head, abdomen, thorax, 6 legs, and 2 pairs of wings. The head consists of 2 antennae for touch and smell. Compound eyes. 3 simple eyes. Lower jaw used for biting and digging. The thorax consists of 2 pairs of membranous wings. 3 pairs of legs. The abdomen consists of, it is divided into 6 parts in females, and 7 in males. Internal wax glands. Needle in females. Branched hair. Some female bees have a small, brush-like tuft of hair to collect pollen on the bee's leg. Bee food. Bees appear to be selective when it comes to food. You may find bees landing on many types of flowers, but they rarely collect pollen from them. Bees are known to depend on nectar for their nutrition because it provides them with a source of carbohydrates and water, in addition to their dependence on pollen, which are sources of protein, amino acids, fats, lipids, sterols, and cholesterol for many bee species. It has also been observed that there is an effect of the diversity of plants around a colony on the growth of larvae in it. The social behavior of bees. The social behavior of bees is divided into two main types. 1. Solitary bees. This type of bee is characterized by isolation and does not depend on the help of other bees. Each female creates her own shelter, and her job is to collect abundant food for the young or larvae. It is worth noting that sometimes they may leave or die before the offspring matures, and in the event of one of the cases of what is called a semi-social relationship is that the female takes care of them instead of storing and obtaining food. There are bees that may be similar to solitary bees except that the females use the same nest and each of them makes its own hive and room to sleep in, and places its larvae in it. They are called communal bees. 2. Social bees. This society consists of large and private colonies, and the females create one shelter for all of them, and it consists of the queens responsible for mating, and they are larger in size than the worker bees, and the workers whose job is to take care of the incubator, search for supplies, and guard, and they are also unable to mating. Male bees do not represent a part of the colony system, and their only function is to mate with the queen. Among the social bees are those characterized by highly cooperative behavior that arise in the form of groups. Bee habitats. Bees are distributed in all types of climates throughout the world, from the forests of Europe to the deserts of Africa and even the Arctic region, unlike honey bees and wild bees found in the United States. The language of bees, like most intelligent animals, need a language to communicate with each other that helps them express their needs regarding the locations of food, or determine the locations of new hives, for example. This language is represented in 3 ways. 1. Touch. The touch that takes place between the antennae of individual bees is a way to get to know each other and determine their identities. Touching with the legs is also a way to measure the size of the honeycomb, which makes the bees keen to keep their antennae clean. 2. Pheromones. The pheromones released by individual bees give the colony a distinctive scent that helps them recognize each other. The queen also uses her own pheromones to prevent the females of the colony from laying eggs. In addition, she secretes some pheromones when she senses a threat in the surroundings. 3. Dancing. Dancing may seem like an unfamiliar means of communication, but it is an effective rhythmic method through which bees returning from a journey searching for a new colony place indicate the suitability and quality of that place, while the bees supporting this place join the group of dancing bees by performing complex dance movements as an expression of acceptance, as bees are only moved when a unanimous decision is reached on the new location. In fact, the bee's sense of danger is what prompts them to use the needle, so they warn the person approaching them through the buzzing they emit. Honey bees differ from African bees in that they chase or track the attacker. Once the threatening source is eliminated, they begin to complete their work and return to normal. The importance of bees in pollinating plants. Honey bees are considered one of the most important crop pollinators in the world because they are the most widespread type of species. It is estimated that 1/3 of the food consumed daily depends on pollination, which is mainly carried out by bees along with birds, other insects, and bats. For example, honeybees play an essential role in pollinating about 80% of commercial crops in the United States of America, while the contribution of honeybees to the British economy in 2008 was estimated at approximately £165 million. The pollination journey in plants begins when the plants show readiness for this process, in which pollen grains are transferred from the male part of the plants to the female part in them in several ways, one of which is bees. If during this pollination process the bees interact with the plants according to their nature, then at the time in which it takes place transferring pollen from the male parts to the female parts easily. Some plants, such as tomatoes and potatoes, need a shake that shakes the pollen grains in the plant enough to complete this pollination process, which leads to the grains spreading and reaching the female part, or by carrying them through the villi on the bee's body after sticking to it. It was also found that there is a direct relationship between the different size of the bee depending on its species and the distance that it can travel during the pollination process. While some types of bees can travel a distance estimated at miles on their journey, the distance that other types of bees can travel is limited to thousands of meters depending on their size. It is noteworthy that the pollen that the bees collect may be pure, containing one type of pollen, or mixed, containing several types that the bees collected from different plants during their journey. Some bee behaviors. Bees have a set of wonderful behaviors, which may sometimes be described as strange, including: sweat bees can pollinate plants that flower at night using the light of the moon and stars. The queen bumblebee builds small nests to lay her eggs in. She also makes sure to keep them warm enough to transform them into larvae by sitting on them, while she places a bowl filled with nectar next to her to help her feed herself without having to leave her eggs. Some types of bees are able to determine the type of plants with flowers rich in nectar by measuring the positive electrical charge that these plants emit and remember their fingerprint in order to head to them in the future. Beekeeping. Do you want to raise bees? Let's find out what it takes. The beekeeping process requires several things. Purchasing bees. Bees are ordered from beekeeping societies by January so they can be shipped and arrived in April or May. Choosing the hive type. Choosing the hive type is up to those who want to raise bees, as there are two forms of hives. There are modern vertical hives called Langstroth hives, and horizontal hives. Obtaining supplies. Beekeeping requires the individual to obtain appropriate supplies for the process, such as protective clothing and feeding supplies. Placing the bees in the hive. Immediately upon their arrival, the bees are placed in the hive that was prepared in advance, allowing them the necessary time to settle in their new hive. Monitoring the hive. Constantly monitoring the activity of bees inside the hive and checking them on an ongoing basis is necessary to ensure their health and ensure obtaining the desired honey at the time of harvest. There are threats to bees, but there are also solutions. Some bee species around the world are showing a decline in their abundance and the extent of their spread, which researchers attribute to several things, including the following. Climate change. Global climate change and the resulting climatic manifestations of warming, severe storms, frequent rains and drought are among the things that can affect the abundance of bee species in the world. Insecticides. The use of pesticides and fungicides, which contain harmful chemicals, poses a clear threat to bees, especially after their widespread use in the early 1990s. Habitat loss. Habitat loss is considered the most dangerous and destructive human activity for wild bees, as it entails the destruction or fragmentation of these habitats. Spread of pathogens. Some types of commercial bees, such as honeybees and bumblebees, are characterized by constant movement, and during this they may encounter many harmful pests and diseases, including some types of parasites, fungi, viruses, and bacteria. Invasion of alien species. Some alien organisms and plants contribute to the destruction of many necessary types of pollinators, and may extract them. For example, a strange type of plant may invade a shelter suitable for a certain type of bee, and cause its displacement. Individuals can help preserve bee species by taking several measures, which may include planting flowering plants throughout the seasons to produce the largest possible amount of pollen and nectar. Providing habitats that may be suitable for bees to nest, such as an amount of sand or a dead tree trunk. Buying or building special houses for bees, as they are available in the market. The benefits of bees are numerous. In addition to producing honey, which is a sweet-tasting sugary liquid, and of great value because it is a product rich in energy and therapeutic properties. Bees also play an important role in the process of pollinating plants, which are the basis for the growth of many agricultural crops, vegetables, and various fruits, which constitute a source of food for animals and humans. Despite the diversity of pollination methods that include insects, wind, birds, and bats, bees it is one of the most important pollinators, and the reason for this is its ability to pollinate plants on a large scale, and it is one of the most important crops that depend on bees for pollination. Broccoli, cucumbers, strawberries, apricots, apples, tomatoes, and almonds. It is worth noting that, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, approximately 80% of the total flowering plants around the world depend on insects, including bees, for pollination. Here are some cool and strange facts about bees. Honeybees have been around for 100 million years. Honeybees, also scientifically known as Apis mellifera, are environmentally friendly and vital as pollinators. It is the only insect that produces honey that humans eat. It uses its sting mechanism against predators to become a protector of the colony. Honey is the only food that contains all the substances necessary to sustain life, including enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and water, and it is the only food that contains pinosembrin, an antioxidant linked to improving brain function. Honeybees have 170 odor receptors, compared to only 62 in fruit flies and 79 in mosquitoes. Their exceptional olfactory abilities include signals for kin recognition, socializing within the hive, and scent recognition to find food. Honeybees' sense of smell is so precise that they can differentiate among hundreds of different types of flowers and see if the flower carries pollen or nectar from meters away. Honeybee wings flap at an amazing speed of about 200 beats per second, making them famous and distinctive. The honeybee can fly up to 6 miles and at speeds of up to 15 miles per hour. The average worker bee produces about 1/12 teaspoon of honey in her lifetime. A beehive flies 90,000 miles, equivalent to 3 orbits around the Earth, to collect 1 kilogram of honey. It takes a bee to travel around the world to produce 1 ounce of honey. A honeybee visits between 50 and 100 flowers during its nectar collecting trip. Male honeybees have no stinging apparatus, no pollen basket, no adapted mouthparts, and do no work at all. All they do is mate. Each honeybee colony has a unique scent to identify its members. During the winter, honeybees feed on the honey they collect during the warmer months, and overwintering bees form a tight clump in their hive to keep the queen and themselves warm. Honeybees have 170 odor receptors, compared to only 62 in fruit flies and 79 in mosquitoes. Their exceptional olfactory abilities include signals for kin recognition, socializing within the hive, and scent recognition to find food. Honeybees' sense of smell is so precise that they can differentiate among hundreds of different types of flowers and see if the flower carries pollen or nectar from meters away. Honeybee wings flap at an amazing speed of about 200 beats per second, making them famous and distinctive. The bee's brain is oval in shape and only about the size of a sesame seed. However, it has a remarkable ability to learn and remember things and is able to make complex calculations of distance traveled and foraging efficiency. A bee colony consists of 20,000 to 60,000 bees and one queen. Worker honeybees are female and live for 6 weeks during the active seasons and for 3 months in the winter and do all the work. The queen bee can live up to 2 years and is the only bee that lays eggs and lays up to 2,500 eggs per day. There are enemies to bees. I wonder who they are. One of the most dangerous enemies of bees is the wasp, which kills bees and intrudes on the hive in order to obtain honey. Wasps are considered most destructive in the late summer and early fall, as they attack honeybee hives, kill adult bees, and devour the bee larvae and cocoons. The world's largest killer hornets, reaching 5 centimeters in length, were found in the U.S. state of Washington, and are known for their always open appetite to devour honey-producing bees, and entomologists are planning to eliminate these dangerous insects. These hornets are called killer hornets, because these giant Asian hornets have a sting that can take a human's life. At this time of the year, these insects wake up from their hibernation. The hornets were first seen in the United States at the end of last December, when the State Department of Agriculture confirmed reports of giant Asian hornets near the city of Blaine in Washington, near the Canadian border, but it is not known when they first came to the North American continent. 2 lizards, especially those called the hearthen, alhardon/alhardhun, which is a scaly, agile reptile that resembles a small crocodile about an inch long. It uses its delicate, graceful tail to catch bees in a malicious way. After he stands still next to a hive, he sneaks his tail into it, and the guard bees attack this tail, so the guards pull it out gracefully and quickly, and he begins to swallow the bees stuck to his scales with pleasure and ecstasy. Sometimes the bees are struck by a wave of foolishness, or pride takes them to sin, so they yearn for more fresh bees, and are not satisfied with what their quivering tail has gained, so they decide to enter with their entire body into the interior of the hive, to wallow among his delicious prey, and here he will suffer certain and inevitable death. Then the armies of bees will attack him with poisonous stings, until he falls, a hatchling, for the sake of his stomach scabs and greed. Because the bees are fully aware that leaving the carcass of the carcass without burial will cause disease and death to the hive or cause spoilage in the honey, and because they cannot carry the carcass and throw it outside the hive, so the bees wax the carcass of the carcass with thick wax very quickly, and this is a fact that beekeepers know and see a lot of, so it becomes the bees, like a statue in the middle of the hive, become a witness to all the bees that they will not be deceived by such a malicious animal, or its naughty tail. The wax moth is about 2 centimeters to 3 centimeters long. The wax moth reproduces rapidly, and its eggs and larvae have strong viability. It mainly harms the weak bee colony, spins the pupae at the bottom of the beehive, spends the comb, eats away the wax on the comb, and damages the bee larvae. The damaged bee colony will decline in the fall, which will affect honey yield and quality. If it is serious, it will cause the bees to abandon the hives and escape. It is very easy to solve this problem by using waxworm killer for wax moth treatment. Varroa is a mite that can be seen with the naked eye. It is oval in shape and its size is 1.6 millimeters wide. Several symptoms may appear on bees when they are infected. The warbird is considered one of the influential enemies of all bee species. It is spread all over the world, especially in warm and temperate regions where there are insects. It has many names in the Arab region. Among them are al-warwer, al-qadari, al-qadir, al-karur, al-kariya, and April. His name in English is bee-eater. It is a migratory bird that spends the winter in warm areas. The damage it causes to bees. 1. The warwar preys on bees during their flight. 2. The distinctive sounds of the warwar prevent the bees from fleeing and remain in their hives. 3. Due to the bees' abstention from the hives, these birds hide among the flowering plants, where the bees do not notice them, and when they come to collect nectar and pollen, these birds attack and prey on them. 4. The warbird attacks the queens while they go out to fertilize and preys on them. We learned important information and the secrets of bees. I hope you have benefited from this information.